Hello and welcome to my channel, or if this is your first time here, my name is Millie and I love any makeup, especially shiny, shifting, sparkly eyeshadows. And I love doing eyeshadow. I love especially colorful eyeshadows. And so through all the years that I've been doing makeup, I have tried so many different types of eyeshadow brushes from different brands to different sizes. And today I'm going to be talking about the Rephr brushes. Finally, I'm making this video. I have a video up previously where I talked about the BK Beauty brushes. I also reviewed Sigma brushes, and I think there might be one other. I will link it all down below in the description if you're interested in seeing some more brush content from me. So what I like to do in my brush review videos is show you how each brush looks next to my eye. I do have hooded lids, so I'm very particular in the types of eyeshadow brush sizes and shapes that I do like to use with my hooded eyes. And I'll also be applying this eye look with all these different brushes to show you how I like to use them. And then at the end of the video, I will tell you kind of what my general thoughts are, which ones I really would recommend, which ones I think you can skip on. And I do want to mention I did buy all of these brushes myself. But first, let's talk about some details. I have only tried their eye brushes. I do not have any face brushes from them because I do prefer to use synthetic brushes when it comes to my foundation and cream products, especially anything like that. But when it comes to eyeshadow brushes, I do prefer natural hair brushes. Price-wise, they are a little bit on the more expensive side of makeup brushes, but not as expensive as Sonia G or Wayne Goss, for example, and even Hakuhodo. Actually, I think Hakuhodo is about this price-ish wise, but they do have a lot of sales. I don't think I paid full price for any of these brushes, and I honestly wouldn't, because there just doesn't seem to be a reason to. The way that they started out was that they actually would sell the brushes at half price. You got to try them out, you had to leave a review, and then that way they also gave you another coupon code. I do have a bunch of these brushes, actually twice or 3 times or even 4 times, because I do like some of these a lot. So let's get right into the demo, and I'll give you some of my final thoughts at the end of the video. Brush 28. Brush 21. Brush 26. Brush 29. Brush 23. Brush 3, brush 12, brush 16, brush 1, brush 15, brush 14, brush 13, brush 2. I've actually already filmed it, but the camera wasn't on, so I have to redo it. Primed with the Sigma eyeshadow primer. I'm going to be using the Wild Jaguar palette from Huda Beauty. I know, I don't know what possessed me, but I just absolutely love this color story, the cool tones. Something is just saying fall and winter to me, even though I hate winter. It still really drew me in. So I'm using the number 15 brush, and I am just putting this matte in the crease. And so this is a larger blending brush for sure, definitely a little bit larger than I prefer, but it is really nice if you just really want to get like a blown out crease. I feel like it blends pretty quickly because of the nature of the size of the brush. Taking the number 12 brush and picking up some of this deep brown, I'm going to pack it on in the outer corner. Now, you do not need this brush just for this. This is what I kind of use it for, but I have other brushes that are also blending brushes that I use for this purpose. So that's why it's like definitely not like a must-have brush, but this is what I would use it for, just deepening out the outer corner here. And I'm taking the 13 brush, and I'm going to further help to feather out the edges of that, since this is a very small brush. I did pick up just a little bit on just to help blend that. Next, taking the number 3 brush, and we're just gonna add it only along the lash line, which is why I love this brush. It's so small. I did end up going a little too high there, but that's okay. Then I'm also gonna take it and finish off my lower lash line. It just fits really perfectly right underneath here. Next, taking the 21 brush, packing on this like gunmetal shimmer in the center of my lid and blending it into the outer corner. And then same brush, taking it to apply gold on the inner corner. I can feel the shimmer falling all over my face. Next, using the 26 brush for an inner corner highlight. This is the Snowflake Loose Highlighter from Anastasia Beverly Hills. Onto the other eye, again priming the same eyeshadow primer from Sigma. So this is the 16 brush. It is way too large for me to want to put like an actual eyeshadow on it to use to buff. I do sometimes use this to feather out the edges of a crease shade that I've already put down, but for the most part I use this for if I want to set my eyeshadow primer with some like translucent powder. It does cover a lot of area. It's really nice and soft and fluffy, but I don't always set my eyeshadow primer. You could also use it to set under the eye. It's nice and big and it's a little bit tapered. Next, going in with the 01 brush. Now, I don't like this kind of brush no matter what brand it's from. It's just not my preferred type of brush shape, regardless of if it's Rephr or any other brand. So this brush is basically, it's fluffy, but it's also flat. So it's good for like getting really up in the crease, and then you can just turn it on its side and then help blend out. However, I just don't like that. It's also a little bit stiffer, so I just feel like I can get a much faster blend with like a fluffier brush like the number 15 I used on this side. Picked up the dark brown on the number 13 brush, and this is usually what I would use to deepen out the outer corner. I would use either the 13 or 14, whichever one is cleaner usually, and then wipe it off on a microfiber cloth and feather out the outer corner with that. You could also use the 28 brush, but honestly you could just use the other brush as like a multitasker brush. It really can be used for all kinds of different things, but that is an option. But personally I just prefer to use the 13 because then I already have it in my hand and I can just wipe it off and keep blending. And on this eye I'm using the 28 brush, so this brush is smaller, and I also believe the brush hairs are all goat. I'm not sure about the 21 brush, but this one actually seems to not be doing such a great job as the other brush did in packing on this particular textured eyeshadow, and I think that has to do with the bristle type, but we were able to get there. Now going in with the gold. This is really nice smaller sized brush if you have smaller lids and you really want to get up in there and be very strategic in placement. So I'm going to take the 26 brush to show you how it would work under the lower lash line. So it does have like that tapered end to it, which is really nice, and I think there's still some shimmer on it but that's okay. But this I think would be good if you're trying to like really blow out the lower lash line. I personally like to be a little bit more focused in that area. You could also use the 02 brush down here as well, and you could also use it in the crease. I think it's a little too stiff for that, but you could kind of, if you wanted to like pack on something in the crease first, then you could also use the 23 brush down here, really nice and small and tiny, especially to get up in here and use it for the inner corner highlight. You could also, I really love using this brush to create a wing. Same with the 03 brush. I really like this brush to create eyeshadow wings. I do have a tutorial up on that. And then this is the 29 brush. This one's also really great to get down in here. You could also use this to tightline. You could probably use this to also put something in your waterline, and also to deepen up like along your top lash line. I'm just going to highlight my inner corner again. And then you could also use the 02 brush, of course, to put down some shimmer. It is really, really great for picking up textured eyeshadows for sure. It's just a little bit fluffier, so it is not as flat as the 21 brush, for example. So as you can see, it's just a bit fluffier. It's a little bit thicker. So here's the finished look. So they've also released these with different kinds of handles. So first is the shiny black with the silver at the top, and these are tapered. I believe that they had like a non-tapered version. I don't know if I have any of those, but I definitely much prefer. They also have a longer handle, and then they also have the all matte black. And two of my brushes that I have in the matte black handle, I believe it was the 02 brush and the 03 brush that I have in the matte handle. The top actually came off on both of them right around the same time. And at the same time, when I was posting that to my stories, I saw somebody else had the same issue, and it seems to be only a problem with the ones that are in matte black. So I do prefer the shiny black with the silver at the top, and I also do like the way it's tapered at the end. I feel like it just gives you a little bit more control in the way you hold it, and I do like that it just feels nicer versus the matte. Also, the matte black gets dirtier easier, so there's just like all these kinds of like my fingerprints or whatever, it's like all over, and it's just really hard to clean because it will just get right back on there, while these, like, I can, like, you know, fingerprint these all over and you won't really be able to see much. So when that happened, I did contact them and they sent me the brushes, brand new, no questions asked, so that was really amazing. I did end up just gluing back the tops on the other brushes, but I just felt like for the price, I really feel like these shouldn't be breaking so soon. And that's another reason why I feel like they're not worth the full price. So, and also the way that they always have some sort of sale going on just really, I feel like, brings them down in value. And also knowing that that's been an issue with the matte ones. Some of the newer types of brushes I got from them are all matte, so I don't know if that's something they're going with for the future. I do feel like obviously it gives them a certain look, and it does kind of distinguish them from a lot of different other brushes that I have, because I don't have any other matte black brushes like these. However, I just don't prefer them. They're also thicker on the end, and it's just not my favorite. So let's start out with the pencil brushes. They have 3 different sizes for the pencil brushes. 26 is the largest size, and then we have the 03 and 23. I think that the 26 is totally something you can skip on. I do not think that that's a must-have brush. However, the 03 and 23, if you were only to get one of these brushes, I would say get the 03. You do not need 23, but it is really nice, especially if you have smaller lids, if you have hooded eyes, you really want to get up in there and have lots of control and be very precise, but you definitely don't need both of them. So let's talk about these next brushes that I like to use for putting on shimmers for the most part. We have the 21, 02, and 28. The 02 is really not my favorite. This is from one of their original bundles. They had first come out with 3 different eye brushes, so this is from their original. I do like using this brush with flakier eyeshadows to put all over the lid, but I don't really use this for matte eyeshadows whatsoever. I much prefer the 21 and 28 brush, so I would say like you do not need the 02 personally, but between these two, I say 21, even though I really love the shape of 28. But as you saw in the demo, I do feel like the 21 brush just picks up, especially like a little bit of a looser or sparklier formula a little bit better, but they are just a little bit different. So I don't think you need both of these, but definitely one or the other. You know, if you want something a little bit larger, obviously, or if you want something smaller. Next up is the 29 brush. This is one of their newer brushes. This one is such a cute little tiny brush. You absolutely do not need this. Is it nice to have if you really like to do intricate looks, or if you just really want to be very strategic, like even more precise than the 23 and like kind of getting up in there, or maybe if you want to use this as an eyeliner brush and use some gel liner and kind of really like tight line along the top lash line or underneath or even in the waterline, then you could get that. But honestly, I haven't reached for it that much because I just feel like some of the other brushes do the same thing almost basically. Then we have the number 12 brush. This is the shiny handle with the silver at the top, which is the handle I much prefer, and I don't think this one's necessary by any means. I think you can accomplish the same thing with the 13 and 14 brush. I just feel like this is not a necessary brush shape to have. That's just my preference. So let's now talk about the 13 and 14 brush. I have 4 of each of these. I absolutely love these. These are very similar to the 18 and 19 brush from Wayne Goss. Like, they're pretty much almost identical. So if you do not want to spend the money and you want to get the Wayne Goss, then this is a great option, especially when these are on sale for like half off or something, or in a bundle that's very discounted. But so these are a little bit different. The 13 brush is a little bit shorter and it's a little bit more flat at the top, and then the 14 brush is tapered and just a little bit longer. I love these. These are so great. You can even go under the lower lash line if you like to blow out your lower lash line. Definitely great for that. Again, I like to use them to deepen up the outer corner and then just start blending, or just even go into the crease and deepen up the crease. You could also start off with these and just like go in with a transition shade. It might take a little bit of more blending, but if you really want to be strategic again where you're placing the eyeshadow, then that's great. So then onto the bigger blending brushes, we have the 01. Again, personally, I mentioned this in the demo, I do not like this brush shape. It's just not my preference. I've tried using it so many different times, and I always am like, just why don't I just use a different brush, kind of like the number 15, for example. I do wish there was like a brush that was kind of like in between all of these. You know what I mean? Like there's just, I feel like there's another like midi size you could get in between all of these brushes. So like something in between there somewhere. So I would say based on the demo, if you like the way that the 01 was, you know, taken into the crease this way and then tilt it on its side and blend. But of course it's up to your preference if you already have brushes like that and you like the shape. Personally, I would have skipped on that one. And then 15 and 16. 15 is a little bit larger blending brush, but it is really nice to just cover a decent area while keeping still a little bit of a control on where you're placing the eyeshadow, especially in the crease. And then the 16, I would totally skip on this one. This one's really large unless you want a multitasker brush. If you don't have anything to set your under eyes, if you don't have anything that is like this, you could also use this as highlighter brush. So I mean, if you don't already have like a bunch of brushes for those specific things, then you could just get this one and you could really use it to do a bunch of different things. But I already have my highlighter brushes. I already have actually big eyeshadow brushes that I'm using as highlighter brushes because they're too large. But it is nice to use to set eyeshadow primer if you like to do that, which I don't always do that, so it's not like I'm always reaching for that brush. And it is also good for blending out the crease shade even further, making sure you feather out those edges, especially when the brush is clean. So I would say 15 is really up to you. I do think it's a nice pairing for the 13 and 14, but again, I wish there was a brush in between. Like I feel like we could get at least one other brush size and shape in here in between all those 3 different brushes. So those are all the Rephr brushes that I've been trying out. I've had some of these for at least like 2 years at this point. Some of them are a bit newer, but I use them pretty often. I do kind of pick between these and my Wayne Goss, especially because I do really love the 18 and 19 brush from Wayne Goss. Let's talk about quality. I feel like the Wayne Goss brushes are just a bit better quality, and it's not just because of the brand and what they claim, but I feel like I can tell that they hold up to washing better and they haven't like splayed as much as some of these. So I feel like those are going to last me a bit longer, especially because I haven't had any breaking problems with those, but I have had 2 of these brushes break like right around the same time. So that definitely was a little bit discouraging, but I do still feel like because they're always got some sales going on and some sort of discount happening, that these are really worth it, especially if you're looking for smaller brushes. I find it really hard to find smaller brushes like these when it comes to more mainstream brands. Sigma has some, but I feel like they're really lacking in the smaller brush department. Some other brands, you know, like Morphe, etc. I know Morphe has some definitely quite a big variety of blending brushes, but those really aren't the best quality and they will end up getting scratchy, especially if you don't take care of them. But from the brushes that I used to have from Morphe, they're really, really low quality. They will not last you a very long time. I do feel like these will definitely last longer than those. Also, I do want to mention, because these are natural hair brushes, you cannot treat them the way that you would treat a synthetic brush. And the reason I'm saying that is because I did not know until probably about the last year and a half that was really the case. Like I knew I had to be more careful with them. Do not use a color switch with these. You will ruin them. You will break off the tips of all the bristles in here. And trust me, like you might not be able to see it like right away, but over time you will see it. They will get scratchier. Believe me, because I've had this experience with my Wayne Goss brushes. I've ruined some Wayne Goss brushes that way. You also do not want to wash them too frequently, and you want to make sure you're using some sort of a very mild brush soap. I do really enjoy the Sigma brush soap, and instead of the color switch, I do recommend getting like a microfiber cloth. They're very, very cheap. I just have a bunch of them, and I just kind of, you know, switch in between them, and they're really nice and soft, and I just wipe off my brush on that, and I think it's just much, much gentler, especially on these kinds of brushes. Also, I do recommend not using the spot cleaners on there, so like Cinema Secrets, anything that has a really high alcohol content, it will definitely, I mean, it's natural hair, so it will dry out the bristles even more, which, you know, might in turn make them even more prone to snapping off the tips, which is what makes them so soft, because they're nice and tapered tips. So that's just something to keep in mind. But so that's everything for this video. I really hope that you found it helpful, and if you did, don't forget to give it a thumbs up, and let me know in the comments below if you've ever tried Rephr brushes. If you like them, would you recommend them, or are you looking into purchasing them? So thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you next time.